Welcome to Find Myself Free, the podcast. I'm Ellie Young, alcohol-free life coach, mom, and athlete. I'm dedicated to helping others change their relationship to alcohol by sharing my journey of transformation. Fascinated by my own capacity for change after decades of gray area drinking, I'm passionate about sharing what I've learned from neuroscience and positive psychology to help you break free from the drinking cycle and unlock your true potential. Hear my personal stories of triumph and struggle as I navigate raising two boys, finding myself after 40, building a business, and doing it all alcohol free. From women's health and cycle syncing to fasting and biohacking, this podcast is your roadmap to a healthier, purpose filled life that starts with changing your relationship to alcohol. It's time to embrace change, find balance, and create the life you were meant for. Welcome to Find Myself Free. Hey, everybody. Before we get to the show, I wanted to invite you to check out my new free resource. It's called Breaking Up with Booze. Check out the link in my show notes. But essentially, this is just a free guide where I break down the two most common beliefs that are keeping women stuck in the drinking cycle. Now, I know what you need. You want to feel confident socializing alcohol-free. You want to be able to manage your stress, but without the crutch of alcohol. And ultimately, we all want to experience joy and connection without the hangover. So this is a completely free resource that you should check out, Breaking Up with Booze, because I know you are finally ready to level up your health. So check it out today. Head on over to my show notes and get the link. I hope to see you there. Hey everyone, I'm excited to announce that I am now an AG1 Ambassador, and I wanted to share with you why I'm so passionate about this amazing product. AG1 has become a key part of my daily routine. Every morning, I start with my day with a scoop of AG1, which is packed with 75 high-quality ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's all about giving my body what it needs to feel its best. Personally, one of the biggest benefits I've experienced has been immune system support. I've noticed that when I'm traveling or life is hectic and I'm not taking as good of care of myself, I feel better when I'm taking AG1 and I have peace of mind that I'm getting comprehensive nutrition to support my busy lifestyle. Another benefit I've loved is how AG1 supports my metabolism. I've noticed that as my cycle and hormones fluctuate, I have less cravings, I feel less bloated because I'm supporting my microbiome. As an ambassador, I'm thrilled to offer you an exclusive deal that you can't get anywhere else. This is literally the best deal that they offer, and it's only available through ambassadors like myself. With your first purchase as a new customer, you'll get a free 1-year supply of D3K2 drops to support your immune system, 10 free AG1 travel packs, and a 30-day supply of omega-3 pills. Wow. So I've really enjoyed how easy it is to make AG1 part of my daily routine, and I think you will too. If you're ready to start your journey to better health, check out uh, in the show notes my ambassador link and make sure you purchase through that to receive my ambassador deal. If you'd like to try a few samples beforehand, you can always email me at Ellie, ELLY, at findmyselffree.com, and I have some samples that I can send you. Now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. How's everybody doing? I took last week off because I have just had a ton going on, as I'm sure you all can relate. The holiday season is here. It was my husband's 50th birthday. I had family in town. And, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And I've had a tough time. Like I'm going to be really honest with you. Like I'm recognizing that my coping mechanisms, I'm not perfect. Like really still struggle to find the good ways to cope through all of this. Ultimately, this marathon of life, it requires coping mechanisms. It does. And they're not all healthy. It is in our nature to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. We've evolved this way. We've evolved to survive in this way. This is the very purpose of dopamine, right? It is to release pleasure, to help us remember things, to help us continue to do these behaviors. It's the molecule of more. So I've read quite a bit on dopamine. I got really into it in my early early alcohol-free days, sobriety days. I really wanted to understand where the attachment, where the dependency comes from. And so I've read two great books that I'll highlight here. Is one of them is called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke. She's also been a guest on a ton of different podcasts. The Huberman Lab one is particularly good. And I've also read The Molecule of More, which this is by Daniel Lieberman and Michael Long. Great books to listen to on audio. And then also I like to have the hard copy to highlight because I'm a total nerd and I love to go back to stuff. But essentially, what we're all after is this dopamine, right? It is driving our comfort seeking rituals, which is another term that I learned from Dr. Gabor Mate, who's written a number of books on addiction. And one of them that I'll reference here is called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. And again, I love that description of it, comfort seeking ritual. For one, it really removes the shame from this idea of what a dependency or an addiction or it's really that we're just trying to avoid pain, pursue pleasure. We're trying to pursue comfort because something is uncomfortable in our lives. And that is where I've been lately. I've been in an uncomfortable part of life lately, which is requiring me to cope more than I have had to in times past. Life has just been more stressful. I've had family in town. I've had some big life events going on, some stressors with kids, and life. It's just life is happening. Now, I've been alcohol free for close to 4 years now. I've been saying that for a long time now, but February will be 4 years for me. So I'm almost there. I'm like 3 3/4. But drinking was most definitely a comfort seeking ritual for me. Um, I believed that it was comforting me in many ways, subconsciously, of course. Like I was never actively thinking this, right? I just had these impulses that were conditioned into me, right? To drink, to comfort, social anxiety, regular anxiety, right? Stress, motherhood, boredom, or even when you want to take the more celebratory side of these things, like socializing, like having fun, like partying and things like that. That in itself was a reward of comfort. I wanted to reward myself for having completed something hard, right? Like, oh, you got through the work week, you're going to go out with friends, you got through mothering all week, you want to have a girls' night out. You want to reward yourself with this break, which is comfort, right? The comfort is in the numbing of our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is like online, you know, doing all the to-do lists, checking off all the boxes and processing. We're literally wanting and that's uncomfortable. Life is inherently uncomfortable, and we are trying to give ourselves a break from that. And this conditioned drinking response is this temporary relief. We really just haven't learned all these other coping mechanisms that would help us to relieve this kind of stress, mostly because they require more work, right? A lot of self-care, it can seem like a chore at the end of the day when you've gotten through your job and you've gotten through mothering and all the things, and you're like, I just want to check out. And drinking is so easy. You just pour this thing in a glass, and within minutes you can alter your state. You can alter your brain chemistry in a way that is shutting off the painful parts. And it's so alluring, right? And it's been in our culture forever. And so I, I still struggle when I am stressed, when I am anxious, when I have family in town and things are uncomfortable. I still want to ritualistically seek comfort in some other way. And now that I'm not drinking, I do still I find other ways that aren't healthy. And mostly it's overeating. Mostly, I wouldn't say overeating, I would say eating more things that I don't normally eat. Like I did not get into the Halloween candy this year. I did get into cookies that were delivered for my husband's birthday. And I doled out these, and they were like enormous, like specialties, yum yum cookies. And I probably haven't had something like that in over a year. And I got into them. It was me self-medicating from, honestly, it was the stress of having my family here. Now, my parents were here for a week. And as I'm sure you can all relate to this, it's hard. It's hard on me. They stay with us. And as much as I want them here to make meaningful memories, because we don't see them that often. So my kids don't really have a close relationship with them. And that's really painful for me. That hurts because I want them. I want them to. And I feel a lot of pressure when they're here. I still want their approval. I still want them to be proud of me and my kids. It's even more my kids. Like, I want them to understand and know my kids and to be proud of them. Right. And so when my kids aren't behaving and their sports aren't going so well, and they get this glimpse into our life, right? We're on stage. It's like we're on stage when they're here because they're staying with us, and we're busy like everybody. We've got a lot going on, and my house is like a machine. Like, I have my rhythms, I have my routines, we have you know our kind of structure. And when my parents are here, it's like they're just watching it all. And my mom brings out of me stress and anxiety because that's how she identifies with me. She's just like, "Oh gosh, you must just be so overwhelmed." She'll literally say like, "Oh, your mind must be racing with a million things." And so even though I'm trying really hard to keep my shit together, my mom wants to like point it out because that's how she identifies. My dad, on the other hand, he's like an extra positive, optimistic guy. He's also full of wisdom that he's always trying to kind of pass on. He's full of these one-liner kind of wisdom bites, um and so he wants to hold court and educate and share. And our kids are our kids now. They're getting older, and they just don't have the attention spans. I don't know. They're kind of in and out of the house. They're running around. They have friends. They want to go do stuff. They don't necessarily want to sit down and have a quality conversation with their grandparents. And I never had to do this because my grandparents lived in town when I was growing up. My dad's parents did. And my mom's grandma ended up coming and living with us. So I didn't have to have this kind of artificial forced time of spending time with my grandparents. And my parents also didn't have that pressure of being like, this is the moment, we all got to spend time together and we got to make it meaningful, and we got to take lots of pictures. And um it's a lot. And so I used to drink through this type of family discomfort. And I'm really still processing all of this because I'm realizing, like, as much as nothing really went wrong, like, family dynamics are just, they're uncomfortable sometimes, right? It's and often we are all drinking, and it allows us to kind of mask the dysfunction that we're all experiencing, that we're all uncomfortable with, right? The dysfunction that exists in all families. There's sadness. And I can't help but still feel responsible, like when they're here for everyone's enjoyment. I'm trying to please everybody, or I'm trying to also protect my kids in a way. Like, I'm trying to defend them from any judgment my parents might be passing on me, parenting, my husband's parenting, and the way our kids are, you know, if they're acting spoiled, if they're on screens, right? Life has just changed so much from when we grew up, and there's just huge gaps of misunderstanding between my parents, my children, and I. And and also there's just a lack of familiarity because they're not used to it. They are not used to the way we live our lives. And for me, I interpret that as like a lot of judgment. And it's really difficult to me. This type of stress, it manifests in my body. I literally get unhealthy while they're here. And then I'm mad at myself. I'm disappointed in myself for letting it affect me so much, because I always go into it thinking I'm going to do better this time. I'm going to take things lighter. I'm not going to carry so much stress, and I can't do it. And so I've put together some strategies here because I really wanted to do a better job of it. And again, I teach you these not because I'm doing it perfectly, but because I need it. I need it just as much as you guys. Because ultimately, like I want the holidays. I want this time with family. I want to give them joy, tradition, nostalgia, right? But this pressure, the stress, it's unhealthy, and I have to find better ways. I have to let go. Um, and and everyone feels it. And again, I used to drink to get through this. I used to just and now I just sit with it. Now I just have to sit with this discomfort and to just accept the fact that this is actually what life is. This is family. This is the discomfort of family dynamics, right? So your coping skills are tested, right? You have to really ask yourself during these holiday times with the family and stuff, are you really taking care of yourself? Or are you just going to eat the cookies like I did? Like I just overate cookies. And that's just it's okay. I want to not pass judgment on myself. I want to, nobody is perfect, right? I recognize it. It's easy. And I recognized it while I was doing it. And that space did allow me to try some new behaviors because we all cope in different ways when it comes to family. I can try and make a bunch of meaning out of the family dysfunction. I can try to solve it. I always am trying to fix things and make it better. I can learn about myself through this, right? I can understand myself through the lens of like, oh, okay, this is your role in the family. This is how you behave. Do you have to behave this way every time? Create a little bit of that space, a little bit of that distance. But ultimately, what I really need to do and what I encourage you to do is to help your brain and body process it better so that it doesn't come at such a cost to yourself, right? Mentally and physically. I had moments where I was doing it right, where I had clarity and I got outside a lot. I got into the sunshine. I ate fairly well. I cooked nutritious meals. And this felt really good. It actually feels really good for me to like recount the ways in which I did handle myself better and that I was really focusing on self-care and nourishing myself. Because a lot of times the feelings that I'm left over with after they leave are feelings of failure, that I didn't do it right. I feel really guilty that I wasn't kind enough or patient enough, that I didn't make the most of this time together. Because I was too busy, right? I was too busy sticking to my routine. And I know this is a fault of mine. Like I'm a very routine person, and my kids are busy and we had a lot of sports going on, and my husband and I are both trying to work from home. I ended up taking most of last week off from work. I was off social media completely. I only posted a handful of times. I didn't do a podcast. I had my client calls earlier in the week so that I didn't have any calls while my parents were here. And I realized that actually wasn't good. I thought it would be better for me to take work off, but I actually derive so much meaning and purpose from my work that it's a part of my mental health pillars. It's a part of really what makes me feel good about myself. And um I realize like I want my parents to know what I do, but they don't fully understand it. I think they still think it's kind of like this well, it's two things. One, it's that I think they're a little embarrassed because they have a hard time thinking that I had a problem, quote unquote, problem with alcohol, despite the fact that like alcoholism runs on both sides of my family, addiction, trauma, dysfunction, right? I think the fact that I have not only gone public with a lot of this, but also made a career out of it, I think they just are uncomfortable. I think it's just that old shame that comes with this, which is so interesting, right? Me stopping this chain and stopping this in my family and learning all these new healthy ways to manage the stuff and helping other people do it. it's like embarrassing for them. It's a little bit like, oh, okay, a little new age sciencey, a little, even podcasting to them is still very like, um, they don't grasp it, right? They don't think the information is all valid and that I'm getting it from weird sources and things like that. Um, so anyways, that's hard for me to not be able to share my work as much so that I can have them be proud of me. I was a total overachiever as a kid. I got straight A's. I was a, Division I college athlete. I was always on that track of like success by really, you know, typical terms for parents. Like they were very proud of me. And then I think to have to kind of go off the rails and go into a career like this, I think they were just like, oh, okay. I don't think they want to talk about me to other people, about what I do now. Um, and it's just really interesting. So it's hard. It's hard for me not to be able to share my work and have them be proud of me, because at the end of the day, I'm still a kid, right? I still fall into these old narratives with my parents of like, I want you to be proud of me. You know, so I realized though, like any attempt that I could have made or that um, I wish I would have made in hindsight, right, to make this experience with family different, that it isn't real. What happened was real. What happened was life, right? The chaos of going to the kids' sports, the chaos of hosting my husband's 50th birthday. It was Halloween. We had a lot going on, and they're staying in our home amidst the chaos, just observing, just watching it all go down and then trying to incorporate them. I used to drink through all that discomfort, and they did too. And we all pretended it was okay. And we brushed all the discomfort and dysfunction under the rug, right? We avoided it, right? So this expectation of like what you want a family experience to be and how they actually do go, it's painful, right? It's sad. And it's one of the harder things to do alcohol free. I'm just going to say it. It really is. And I talk to my clients a lot about deep end events. Like when you are learning to swim, you don't jump into the deep end, right? I know there's some schools of thought on swimming and you just throw them in there, make them survive, right? But oftentimes when you're stopping drinking, like you can't plan just shallow end events for your life. You have these deep end events that come up that are like, good Lord, this is really hard to stay alcohol free. And so you really got to prepare yourself. You really want to give yourself tons of self-care strategies to get through this time. The holidays are tough. They're exceptionally tough. And again, part of this is accepting what you can't change, right? There are certain things about family dynamics, about the traditions, about the experiences that you straight up can't change. So you have to be really intentional about what you can change, the things you can control. When you don't plan ahead, when you just think, you just hope that this intention that you have to do better and to not drink is just going to be strong, that muscle is just going to be able to flex itself when you're caught in the throes of family tension and holidays and tradition and stress and anxiety. It's not. You have to plan ahead. You really have to get. And so that's why I'm doing this podcast now. We are, a couple of weeks out from Thanksgiving, but the work starts now. The prep that you can do now to go into this mentally prepared so that you're more equipped. You're more equipped. So I'm going to give you 5 tips here that are going to help you. And again, I researched these because I needed help. And I'm going to revisit these and I'm going to practice these and I'm going to continue to share these with my clients as strategies that are like, hey, we're all works in progress. This is my go-to list right now. So one of them is name your feelings out loud. Okay, now this might sound cheesy to you, but I've actually I call this out in my anxiety, um, how to manage anxiety and early sobriety too. Name your feelings out loud. This activates the prefrontal cortex of your brain. So you're quite literally taking this chemical response, this emotion. Emotion is a chemical response in your body, right? And then our brain tries to assign a lot of meaning to it, a lot of thoughts, and we spiral, right? But if you just name it, it starts to create a little distance between the conscious seat of your awareness. You're like, I'm observing myself now, and I'm going to call attention to what I'm experiencing. This is frustration. This is anger. This is discomfort in my body, right? Call it out, name it, be really, really specific, right? These emotions are stemming kind of from these old subconscious narratives in our families, right? These roles we're playing, right? We get so triggered by these old narratives. And when you say it out loud, again, you just go, "Oh, okay, my little subconscious is doing what it does in this environment with my family, right? Oh, okay." You create that little space. And you kind of get to observe it and you realize, okay, this has no power over me. I have choice here. I can do it a little differently, right? Saying it out loud is really just activating that part of your brain that allows you to create space. So we are not letting our emotions run the gamut, run the show. Okay. So it's naming it out loud. Number two, um, empower your agency where you can. So this really just means control the controllables, right? Family dynamics are out of our control, but we can choose to incorporate practices that really help us stay present and aware. Again, so much of this is to stop getting on the train of just automatic behavior in these family environments that are just so familiar to us, right? We are trying not to fall into our child self. So if you start to recognize this is going on and it starts to feel so familiar, then you go, "Ooh, I'm going to control what I can control right here. I'm going to get outside. I'm going to interrupt this pattern. I'm going to interrupt this subconscious programming, and I'm going to get outside, get some fresh air. I'm going to take some deep breaths. The physiological sigh is one of the best, where you inhale, and then at the top of the inhale, you inhale one more time really deeply, and then you exhale. Just do this a couple times. It's going to help lower cortisol. Then, if you can incorporate movement, we're going to help lower cortisol in our body. It's going to help lower our blood sugar, lower our insulin, hopefully preventing us from stress eating later. You're going to hydrate. Okay. So we are going to set yourself up by building in a morning ritual. I always say morning because it starts first thing in the morning. How can you not guarantee, but how can you really kind of put some foundation in place, some nourishment for your nervous system that is going to set you better up for these types of family experiences, these holidays, these dynamics that really can trigger us to go to a place where, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to mask this dysfunction and this discomfort, right? Hey, maybe you have an amazing family and you feel like there's no discomfort and dysfunction, and it's all just a big huge party and a big celebration. I used to think this. I used to kind of feel like, well, my family's so fun. Like, we just party, party, party. It was still there. There was still sadness and discomfort and stuff, and we just were masking it. And um, it's a hard pill to swallow. I'm with you. I'm with you in all the ways in which this season can be hard. If you want to set up a private call to talk about this, I just want you to know, like, I am with you this holiday season. Getting on a free call with somebody who you can really be honest with and talk through how hard this time of year is, it can really help, because again, you're taking this intention that's inside you to do better, to not drink, to not fall into these patterns, and instead you're just putting it out into the universe and allowing your brain to work on it with somebody else that's going to create more possibilities of something different for you. It's really, really powerful. I highly recommend it. No strings attached. I am here for you if you need that. So you can go to my website and you can find setting up a free call there. Okay, the next step here is steer clear of family scripts. Okay, this is very much like, don't fall into the old family patterns, the old roles. If you recognize a family script taking shape, can you shift it to a topic that is more neutral, or just make light of it to not get offended by the things our parents say, right? I mean, because you know it's going to come up. You don't have to react the way you've always reacted, right? I've come to accept that, of course, I'm not going to change my parents. This is an election year. Politics are a dangerous topic in my family. And as much as we all try to avoid it, it can't help but rear its ugly head. And we are so primed to react to each other in these environments. And it's like, do I have to do that? Do I have to try to prove my parents wrong or prove, no, you don't. Again, observing yourself and saying, this is going to happen. How can I be proactive at having a different reaction? What can I do differently? Okay. And it's not about avoiding it. I've done this too, where I'm just like, I'm just going to not participate in the conversations. I'm going to leave. I'm going to step out of the room. I'm going to go outside. That's not always an option. And I don't think that's a bad option, but empowering yourself to try to steer things a little bit differently into more neutral territory and to make light of things like, oh, this is not going to go well. Let's talk about something else. And just recognize again that like, you do have control, and your reaction to things is where you can find your agency. It's the family roles and the family scripts that are going to take shape that you need to be really intentional about trying to steer clear of. The next step here is make mindful food choices. Okay, this is one I really need to listen to. Stress eating to cope is a thing, right? Again, we're after that dopamine. If you're not drinking, like me, you are trying to still find something to cope with. And a lot of times we're after that dopamine of the processed food, the junk food, the sugar, right? I am so guilty of this. And a few tricks to help reduce the damage, because the holidays are just filled with tons of crappy food all at your fingertips. Pair your carbs with protein or with a healthy fat, right? So this is going to help offset the blood sugar spike. If you are eating it with protein, you're going to be more full. It's also going to slow the rate of the blood sugar hitting your blood, so that it's going to help you stay more stable and more grounded. Avoiding these spikes will help prevent cravings later, right? So another trick here is put your snacks in a bowl. Try not to graze at like parties and things like that. Get a little plate, put a few of these items on a little plate, go sit down, get away from the table, and put a little healthy fat and some protein with it. That's going to keep you satiated, more full. That way, when the sugar hits your bloodstream, you're not going to be like, ooh, I need to go have 10 more of those. Because that's what I do. So if you want that cookie, be like, ooh, can I have a little protein or a little fat? Or better yet, can you have a big glass of water? Can you have a salad, some sort of fiber before any heavy carbohydrate or sugar dessert type of thing? Then you are really going to create a net in your gut that's going to help kind of slow the uptake of that sugar. Again, preventing the spikes, which are going to help prevent, insulin spikes as well, creating insulin resistance. But ultimately, it creates a blood sugar spike and then a blood sugar crash where you crave more sugar later. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Another way is to take a walk after you've eaten for about 10 minutes. This is going to help lower that blood sugar as well. It can also help diminish cravings. If you're craving some bad food, if you just get outside, take a walk, get out of that environment and stimulate yourself, give yourself dopamine in a bunch of different other ways, you can help to manage these types of cravings. And work in that physiological side, get outside, get some sun, and do some deep breathing. This is like going to be my go-to strategy all holiday season. Last but not least, tip number 5, move. Move to avoid getting stuck. So when the tension is building, can you move? Can you take a break? Can you help lower your cortisol and blood sugar by getting up and preferably getting outside and moving? Get those positive chemicals flowing in your body. And again, this is something you can do throughout the day, but if you can build it into your morning routine and really set yourself up for success by nourishing your body early in the morning by really communicating to your whole system that I am going to take care of you. I'm going to set you up as ideally as possible for the stress, anxiety, the discomfort of the family dynamics that take place throughout all the holidays. This is going to be your go-to strategy. So I hope these strategies help you guys. I know I'm kind of coming up for air after a week with my family. And so it's very top of mind. And I love my family. I wish they were here more, but it's really hard on me when they're here. And then I feel really sad when they leave. And, it's a mixed bag. And I know a lot of you are experiencing that. And I know drinking to get through this time is kind of one of the most familiar coping strategies. And so the holidays are tough. And so I want you to know I'm here for you, and fall back on these foundational tips. When all else fails, stop trying to assign so much meaning and fixing everything. And instead just go, I just need to take care of myself. I just need to help my brain and body process this discomfort better. Okay. And these are the things that I'm leaning on, and I hope they help for you too. So until next time, everybody, I am with you. You got this. Happy holidays. Hey, team, you've just listened to an episode of Find Myself Free. And if some part of this left you wanting more, if your curiosity has been piqued and your intuition is telling you, I'm ready for more, I'm ready to look at my relationship to alcohol and find out just how much it's holding me back, then check out my coaching offers at findmyselffree.com. I offer the Brave course to kickstart your break on your own time, or you can hop on a call with me and talk about one-on-one coaching. I worked with a coach for 4 months at the start of my alcohol-free journey, and it made all the difference. Being able to talk to someone who knew what I was going through and could help me navigate my new world gave me a foundation of support I could build on. And it's a big reason why I'm a coach today. I want to help others find their freedom and level up their health. As always, if you like this episode, please like, follow, and share. And until next time, I'm with you. You got this.